Hello and welcome everybody to this Azure Synapse Espresso. I'm joined here today by Thomas, which means we're going to talk OpenAI and GPT-3. Now, imagine that you have your Synapse deployment and we basically want to have some test data that we want to use and we want to test our loads with. Usually it's a lot of work to get that data cleansed and making sure that it's masked and all those things. Wouldn't it not be easier if you could easily generate that data and use that data? Now, Thomas, you're going to explain to us how to do that with GPT-3, right?
Yeah, exactly, Stan. That's what I'm going to talk about today. Imagine that you have to demo something. Imagine that you need some test data to test out some new features. Mostly, either you go searching for some data from your company that you can use, or the search on the internet starts to find some open data sets. Often the data is not perfect, it's not clean, doesn't really suit your needs. So what you can do is use OpenAI, Azure OpenAI GPT to generate the data for you. And that's exactly what I did for the first video, by the way. I was looking for some data. I couldn't find the exact data. So what did I do? I went to ChatGPT. I let it generate some data. I pasted it into a CSV file, uploaded it, etc., etc. But I was thinking, hey, can't we just optimize this? We have an API, we should be able to optimize this entire flow.
Awesome. So let's have a look at it.
All right, so we are here in what is actually the notebook that we also used in our first video. But I made some modifications, let's say. First of all, let's take a look at what is the same and what is different. Here, we are still declaring our Azure OpenAI service. That's still exactly the same, but I've added a variable, number of reviews. Again, we are in the context of some restaurant reviews that we want to do some sentiment analysis on top of. Here, normally, we would have went to our data lake, querying the CSV file that I uploaded manually. That's not the case anymore. I'm just creating a data frame based on the number of reviews. So in my case, I think I specified 5. Yeah, here it is. I'm generating a data frame with 5 records, let's say, and I will, here we are, and I will create a prompt again. The prompt, what is this prompt? Let's switch to our Azure OpenAI Studio. This is what I'm going to send to my Azure OpenAI. I'm asking it to generate a JSON that contains a restaurant review. I define the JSON structure. So I'm asking for a restaurant. I'm asking for a review. Let's take a look. That's what I get back. This one is on McDonald's, completely fictitious, by the way, not based on true experience. And here we have a review. Now, I return it in a JSON. Why do I do it? Because by using this JSON, I can actually convert the data to columns. First off, and this is still the same as in the first video, we have our OpenAI completion client, so the API call that we're going to define still using the Synapse ML open source library. And here we execute it. We have our data frame that we created. We have 5 records inside of it, and we are going to do the transform. Still, nothing really new. It's all the same. But as a response, you can see over here that I've got my IDs, and I've got a JSON. This JSON is still stored just in a string column, so it's not recognized as JSON. That's still something we need to do in the next step. And this is something new. What are we going to do? We define the schema of our JSON file. In my case, it's a restaurant, string type, and review, also string type. And then we are converting it to JSON, and we will query this JSON. We will extract the data from the JSON. As a result, we get a data frame with the restaurants and all of the reviews without me having to copy paste all of the data. I can just create the data frames, specify how many reviews I want, run the notebook, and I have some data frames available to have some fun with. This is another example, actually. We're going to build further on the previous one. In the previous one, we just have a restaurant and a review. We store it all together in the data frame. But what if we want to go a step further? What if we want to build, let's say, a bit of more of a relational structure? Having 3 data frames, a data frame with some restaurants, a data frame with customers, and in between, we have a data frame with the reviews, tying together those customers and those restaurants. I'm gonna go a bit quicker over here because it's all the same. The only difference is that I now have both the number of customers that I can define and the number of restaurants that I can define. I create a data frame, again, all very similar. Create a data frame for my customers. I create a data frame for my restaurants, and I define a prompt for both of them, or I generate a prompt for them. What is in this prompt? Again, I will use JSON because it's easy to process afterwards. And I'm just telling my GPT model, my Azure OpenAI, give me or generate me some international customer information. Why international? If you don't specify international, Jane Doe will come up very often. And I do the same thing for some restaurant information. I have a restaurant and I ask for a description. Let's see what I get. Cafe Roma, a cozy Italian restaurant, and blah, blah, blah. Still very similar to my previous example. Here you can see the prompts that are being generated, and these are the prompts that are sent to Azure OpenAI. Just as we did in the previous notebook and in all the previous notebooks, actually, just Synapse ML client defining the Azure OpenAI completion API. And this is also the same as the previous one. We extract the JSON, or we get the JSON that we get from it. And again, we define the structure. For the customer, we have a first name, we have a last name, and we have an email. And for the restaurant, we have restaurant and a description. And next up, we will extract this data. So now we have our customer and we have our restaurant. What we now still need is a review. We could do some random matching. We don't care, just throw them all together and generate some very general review, not based on the restaurant. But that's not what I like. So what I did was I created a prompt where I specified the name of the restaurant. The names are very descriptive. You have like something with taco inside of it or something with Italian, so it's very descriptive. I also specified a rating on a scale of 5. I do this because GPT is very positive and he tends to give very positive feedback. And as we all know, people on the internet aren't always that kind when they leave a review. So I want it to be completely random. I want negative and positive reviews. And again, I'm asking it to put it in the JSON. And this gives me such a result. Here we have a negative one. I have review date, I have review, and I have a rating. Returning to our notebook. What we then do is I'm simply cross-joining my data frame of my customer and the data frame of my restaurant. You could do some more random joining between them, but to make it easy, I just did a cross-join to make sure that every customer leaves a review of every restaurant. And here you see that I'm providing a random score of 5. And now next up, it's a bit of the same again. I have my prompt. I use the OpenAI completion call. I get back a JSON. I define the structure of the JSON or the information of the JSON that I want to extract. And I get the restaurants, I get a customer a review date with a review and a rating. And apart from that, I of course have my other two data frames containing my customer information and containing my restaurant information. And now I have a relationship between all of my data frames that I can write to files on my data lake or something, or I can dump it inside of a SQL database. I can do lots of stuff with it.
Awesome. That basically means that we now can just generate random test data to use in our environments, just generate it using that GPT-3, and we can even make relational data that makes connections between those data frames that you already have, and it can just create random test data to test your solutions with in a safe and secure way. Now, if this was the first time you're visiting our channel and you've liked the video, just give us a big thumbs up. If you want to see more of this type of videos, just subscribe to the channel. And if you have any other questions or any other requests for a video, just type them in the comments and we'll definitely get back to you. As always, from the Synapse Espresso team, this is Stijn.
This is Thomas.
Bye.
Bye.